folks, welcome to Advisory. Hope you guys are doing well. I don't know if you feel this or not, but it feels like things change way too rapidly sometimes. I feel it, you may feel it. Maybe some of you have experienced some change, both positive and negative. Maybe you have changed, maybe your friends have changed. A lot of things can happen, and a lot of times that can be stressful to deal with. And so today, one thing I want to talk about is how to deal with change and the stresses that come along with it. Because if there's one thing that I know never changes, it's change. Did I get you?
Did I trick you?
Did you think Mr. Hall's long hair was back? What if I got extensions? I don't know. That might be kind of crazy. Sometimes I miss my old hair, and then I remember how much money I'm saving on shampoo. As I said, there's really only one constant, which is that something is going to change. One thing is we're all getting older.
Tell you what, we ain't getting any younger.
With every new school year, there's lots of change. What kind of teachers you're going to have, what kind of classes you're going to have. Your friend group, as it stands right now, will change. You probably aren't hanging out with some of the same people that you may have hung out with in elementary or middle school, just like you probably won't hang out with the exact same people when you move on to college or a job or your adult life. Your family will change with marriages or divorces or births or deaths. There are constant physical reminders in our world of change, like the changing of seasons. You yourself have changed. And thank goodness, right? I'm really glad that I'm not the same person that I was, 20 years ago or even 10 years ago, or in some cases, even last month. We're always trying to get better than we were. We're always trying to grow. Our bodies are constantly changing. And I don't mean in that way. This is not that talk. I mean that like our cells, the cells in our skin are not the same cells we had when we were born, because our cells are constantly dying and we're growing new ones as our bodies grow up. So I think we've established that change is inevitable. We can't stop it. It's always going to be happening in multiple different areas of our lives. And so since we know that change is constant, the only thing that remains to be seen is how we react and how we deal with change. For instance, think about those questions that you answered before you started this video about how you like or don't like change. Is change usually exciting to you? Is it something that you look forward to, of newness and constant change? Or is it something that is a little scary to you and you might prefer for things to remain the same at their comfortable level? I'll be honest, more often than not in my life, I have been scared and a little bit nervous about change. A lot of the times I like the way things are, but every time something changes, I learn something new, I grow as a person, and I understand that it really wasn't as scary or as intimidating as I thought it would be. And so, from someone who has not always dealt with change well, here are 5 tips on how to deal with change in a healthy way. Number 1 is to first acknowledge that change is happening. Sometimes change can occur so rapidly that we don't have time to process it, or we don't really have time to understand that it's going on. And sometimes the reason that change can be so scary or abrupt or feel so abrupt is that we don't take time to really sit with it and acknowledge that change is happening. With that acknowledgement comes the need to understand what is in your control, what about this change is within your control, and what is not in your control. Knowing the difference between these two things, what is and is not in your control, is going to help you out a lot. Here are some examples. Things that are in your control are things like the classes that you take from year to year. You can talk to your counselors and kind of adjust your schedule in that way. You're in control of the jobs that you accept and don't accept, the ones that you applied to, the ones that you follow up with, wherever you want to work, that is in your control as well. You can control the relationships that you choose to be a part of. And that goes back to what we were talking about in February regarding healthy relationships. That can be dating relationships or just friendships. You can control your personal attitude about something. Sometimes that's harder than others, but having a positive attitude towards a change can go a long way in dealing with it in a healthy way as well. You're in control of who you spend your time with or who you hang around for the most part. You can control how you eat and sleep. This might be harder to control right now because you are living in your family's house and you're subjected to what to eat, who else is in the house, and those kind of things. But generally speaking, in your life, you understand that you can control how you take care of your body. And then how you treat others is also an example of something that is in your control. So these are the types of things that you do control during major changes. Examples of things that are out of our control are things like big world events, right? The first thing that pops into my mind is COVID. We had very little control, and it felt like that for those years, or big wars, or big kind of out of our reach situations. The decisions that are made by the adults around us are things that are not necessarily within our control. Where they decide to work, where they decide to live, what they feed us sometimes. That can be a pretty frustrating source of a lack of control for us as we grow up, is that we are subjected to all of the decisions that the adults who are in charge of us make. Sometimes that's fine, sometimes that's harder than others, and that's all right. Tragedies like illnesses, deaths, natural disasters, things that just are a part of life. The choices of others and how they treat us or what they decide to do, that is out of our control. And my final example is growing up. We can't stop the fact that we're growing up, that we are given more and more responsibility for our lives as we grow up. So it's important to know the difference between these two types. There are some things that we can have some sort of control over, and there are a lot of things that we don't have a lot of control over. And knowing that difference can give you a lot of peace. Number two is to realize that even good changes can cause stress, and that's okay. That's very normal. Earlier this year, I moved into a new house, and while I really liked the house and it was a good change, it's still very stressful to move. As most of us are probably aware, it is not fun to pack up all your belongings and haul them in some way or get your friend with a truck and all those things. When I was getting settled into my house, it caused a little bit more anxiety than would be there normally because everything was kind of constantly changing. And that can cause some stress, even though it was a good move. Same thing with some of us seniors that are about to move on and graduate. It's a great thing to graduate high school and to move on to the next part of our lives. But as many of you are probably feeling right now, it's really stressful. You got to take care of a lot of business, and a lot of responsibility gets put onto your shoulders as you're getting ready to make the leap away from high school and into whatever is coming next for you. So it's okay that change, even good change, causes stress. Number three is whenever things are changing, to keep a regular schedule as much as possible and make healthy choices around diet, sleep, and exercise. When I was moving into the house that I live now, it took a lot of energy. And in order to keep up with that change, I needed to make sure that I was getting plenty of sleep and that I was eating relatively well. That helped me deal with the change that was happening both mentally and physically. So anytime something major is happening in your life or any major changes are happening, make sure that you're doing your best to maintain some sort of consistency in any of these areas. Number four is to seek support. All right. Think about who in your life or who do you know understands these changes. Maybe if you're a freshman this year, you went from going to Marsh every day and you had those friends at Marsh, and then all of you came up here to WT White. Well, you are all going through that change together. And so there is some solidarity and understanding between people that are going through a similar change at the same time. But also, if they're not going through the same changes at the same time, who might understand what life is like when going through that change. Some of you who are freshmen right now are going to be a valuable resource of wisdom for freshmen in the future for the next couple of years. As we get new batches of folks from the middle school, they will be looking to you as sophomores, juniors, and seniors on what that experience is like and how to make that change as positive as possible. So finding support can help you out a lot, even if it just makes you feel less alone while you're going through the change. And then my final suggestion is to find joy in the positive aspects of the change. With a lot of major changes, there comes a lot of pros and cons, right? There's a lot of positives and there's a lot of negatives to some choices. Sometimes they're heavier on one end of that than the other, but in general, there's probably something good about a lot of the change that we go through. And so focusing on that and finding joy in those positive things can be very helpful. Also, venting about the negative things to maybe a friend or family member that understands what you're going through, that can be very powerful. But you don't want to vent for too long about a change because, again, we all know what we can and can't control. And so while it's important to be able to vent, you want to make sure that you move on from venting about the change, especially if it's one of those ones that you don't really have that much control over. It's best to focus on the positives, whatever there may be, and move on. So, those are just some of my suggestions on how to deal with change, but I want the conversation to continue with you in your advisory class. On the next slide will be some questions, and through those discussions, I hope you're able to think about how you have dealt with change in the past or how you typically deal with change and how you want to deal with changes that happen in the future moving forward. That's all from me. Have a great rest of your day. Be good to yourself and others, and I'll see you real soon.
Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I built my life around you. But time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too. Oh,